We're coming in hot with inspiring guests, witty banter, and colorful commentary for today's veterans and military community. This is the Tango Alpha Lima podcast.
They call me crazy cause I'm facing all my giants. They try to scare me into thinking I can fight it. They tell me I should never even think of trying. But that's just me, I'm gonna live out in defiance.
Holy February. Welcome to the Tango Alpha Lima experience. I'm Jeff Daly. There is Ashley Marie Gorbulja Maldonado. I think she has an announcement. This is a very special episode and a very special moment. Ashley.
Oh, well, I don't know if it's like super duper special. So I've been my New Year resolution goals were to try new things, and I decided to try a new sport. I decided to try winter sports, and I kind of took a real hard fall. And for those folks who know me well enough, no, I don't do anything in moderation. It's either 0 or 100. So I actually go into surgery the third day of February because I broke it that bad.
Now you say winter sports, you weren't curling. What were you doing?
I was snowboarding.
Okay. Maybe you should do curling next time.
Yeah. I'll add that to potential repetitious shoulder and elbow injuries.
Well, this actually fits in with today's theme because snowboarding is something that you don't see a lot of Black people doing. We aren't purposely on the slopes, increasing wind chill factor when it's already really, really cold. It's not something we do overall. So today is the Black History Month episode, and we are going to, let's just start off with something that is kind of cool to me. I had the good fortune of being in the American Legion College 2021 class. I was in District 5, the best alive. And one of the things that we did is we kind of bonded together with resolutions. We're trying to put them up in different states at the same time. And one that came was about a group of women that this podcast has talked about before, the 6-888. And you'll hear about them a little bit more in the resolution. But this bill, there's a bill to give them the Congressional Gold Medal. It passed the Senate unanimously. This is bipartisan goodness, and it's just tough to get through the House because there's so many people in the House with so many different agendas. It's tough to get them to pay attention to something, even though it's a win for everyone. So we didn't. District 3 wrote this, and it's good stuff. It was brought to Legion by Cherie Reckner. She's a Maryland Post 208, and it was worked on by a team of District 3, who their motto was District 3, where you want to be. They said it every time, and they said it loud and proud, as Ashley would say. So members of that district worked on it. Now the same resolution is being introduced in multiple states, including California, and I'll tell you that after Ashley.
Sure thing. So I'm going to go ahead and just read verbatim the resolution language. So resolved by the National American Legion College class of 2021, assembled in Indianapolis, Indiana on December 12th through the 17th, 2021, that the American Legion urge the Congress of the United States to award the Congressional Gold Medal to all members living and deceased without delay due to the declining number of remaining living members of the 6-888 Central Postal Directory Battalion, and be it finally resolved that the American Legion promote and advance awareness of the history and the accomplishments of the 6-888 Central Postal Directory Battalion in all media channels deemed appropriate, and that any resources needed for such be handled through the normal budgeting process.
So it's a great story. They're a great story. If people may not remember, these women were all Black women, were tasked with taking care of a huge, enormous amount of backlog in mail that was it just been piling up, and they were brought in to help do it, and they finished it in way ahead of time. And I don't want to get into too much of it, but I will say, like, California is one of the states that's going to be running this through because I took it on. And at my post during Black History Month, we have a meeting with that theme. We're playing the documentary of the 6 AAA in our beautiful theater, the Hollywood Legion Theater. And at the end of it, I'm going to read the resolved clauses that you read and take a vote of my post to endorse it, to send it to the department. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Very cool. Look at you. All right.
I know. I love doing resolutions that I didn't write. That makes it so much easier, you know? It's a
key
whole
component of the American Legion, folks. Resolutions, how to write resolutions. If you need more information, check out our training at yourlegion.org. My Legion, excuse me.
There we go. So there we go. We have our first story in, and we're going to come back and we're doing something a little bit different today. We're not introducing the stories. We're going to let the American Legion media team introduce them to us with videos that actually I listened to them to make sure that they were going to sound good on with audio only. And it just made me think of those high-powered podcasts like This American Life. These videos, they have enough sound and stuff that it's going to be a fun day, people. And we're going to learn a lot. All right, we'll be back after this break.
The American Legion is Veterans Strengthen America. We're in your community, supporting veterans, service members, and their families, enriching the lives of young people and promoting citizenship and patriotism. Our members are passionate about these core values. Help strengthen America by joining the American Legion today. For more information, go to legion.org/join.
All right, we are back, and now it's time to introduce. Nope, we're not going to introduce. We're going to roll the video now.
Right there around Jessie Iwuji in the 34 truck, and so appreciative of all the military do, and it's great to see Jessie be able to serve and also race, making his third start.
My name is Jessie Iwuji. Currently, I'm in the U.S. Navy. I'm a lieutenant commander in the reserves, and also I race in NASCAR.
There's Jessie Iwuji in the 74.
I've been racing for the last 6 years now. It's been a pretty fun journey to be able to go from driving warships in the Navy to now racing in NASCAR. I got to the Naval Academy in 2006. Prior to that, I was from Dallas, Texas. I was the son of 2 immigrants. Both my mom and my dad immigrated from Nigeria to the U.S. back in the 80s. Obviously, football is the biggest thing in Texas, so that's naturally what I gravitated towards. Went to the Naval Academy, played there all 4 years, and ran track. And then in 2010, graduated and became a surface warfare officer in the Navy.
Time for a picture here,
Oh, you good?
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for your service.
Yeah, most definitely. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you for your service.
My time in the Navy as an officer, being on multiple ships, going on multiple deployments, everything I learned from that was what I was able to basically use to become the resourceful person I had to become a professional race car driver in NASCAR. During pre-race, when you're getting ready for the race, in your mind, you got to get your mindset into a place where you're going to be very focused. It's different than other sports. When I played football, I had to get my mind into a crazy place where I was ready to go basically run my body through another human being. You don't want to run your car through another car. Like, that's all bad. That will end your race. So you need to be in a very focused place. You got to be somewhere where your mind is ready to go lap after lap after lap, 150, 200 laps. Me being able to be calm, cool, and collected, that is something I learned while serving in the Navy active duty as an officer on the ships. Because on ships, you are moments away from a catastrophe at all times.
Texas, Jessie Iwuji.
So partnering up with Emmitt Smith has been huge. We told him, hey, we're starting our own race team and we'd love for you to be part of it because, you're the household name in Dallas. For me, being from Dallas, Texas, for me, playing football in the past, to be able to partner with them has been a huge blessing. And I would say like my 10-year vision is to have this Jessie Iwuji Motorsports team. We want to bring in different drivers of different races, different colors, different creeds, different genders, give them opportunity and see where they can take it from there.
All right, that was super cool. I think I like that. It makes our job a little bit easier, huh, Ashley?
It does. It really does.
And so that was I've been trying to say that Jessie Iwuji, and it's Woojie. I think super producer Holly gives us miming on here, so sometimes I get it, sometimes I get it wrong. So I think it's interesting. He has an interesting story, and that his parents were immigrants, both of them from Nigeria, and he came here and is a Annapolis grad, which is not an everyday thing that everybody does. Then he ends up being a NASCAR racer, which is not something that everybody can do or everybody does. And I think it's a great story, and I see a Disney movie in his future. What do you think?
I think so. I think they should definitely do some Lightning McQueen. He should do a voiceover and get his own car for one of the movies that they make. I think that would be amazing. It'd be a cool veteran story and everything that he's done. I did have an opportunity to meet Jesse at the military influencers conference in 2019. He is everything that you would expect. He's super humble. He's got a great sense of humor. He's very driven, pun intended.
Wait, what about your other famous saying that's pun perfect right now? He's super
high speed.
He is super high speed, and hopefully his car is low drag. So he is. So not only that, he talks a lot. I liked what he said about the mindset. I'd like to ask people how the military affected their success in non-military things. So one of the things he said that stuck out to me is mindset's different than football, because he played football. Because his parents immigrated to Texas. What else are you gonna do? You're gonna play football, or you're not gonna be popular. You gotta play football. So he played football, and then he went to Naval Academy and played football, where he says you run through people. You run through people. But then when he decided to do this car racing thing, you don't want to go through other people, because that's the exact opposite of what you're trying to do. You're trying to finish first place, one piece. So he talked about he learned the calm, focused demeanor from his naval experiences, so that while this high speed chaos that's happening, he can remain calm and focused. And I think that's a good lesson.
Yeah, I mean, in any circumstance, I think our military training in general gives us more clarity in chaos. I mean, really, even my own incidences. I'm on the top of the hill asking for a splint, and bandaging and figuring out how to sling my arm and walk down the mountain. And it wasn't until ski patrol asked you, hey, do you need some assistance? Actually, yeah, how do you get down the mountain? I think there's something to be said about service members and their training, because we're trained to adapt and improvise and overcome. And to be frank, it's I resonate with Jesse's message, and I think that there is a lot that we can pull from our service as we continue to serve even here in the American Legion.
And I wonder if he was a guest right now, and if he's out there, we would love to do that.
Yes, Jesse, would you like to come on the show?
I think, and I'd be remiss if I didn't say, if you go to a NASCAR race, you don't see a lot of Black people racing or watching. So the fact that he's thriving in this environment is it's a testimony to something. I don't know what it is, but I would love to ask him what it is. And in the video, I enjoyed the fact that he had people kind of crowding around him, trying to get autographs and all of that sort of thing. So, because to me, that's a great step in our country's journey.
Absolutely. He's very philanthropic too. He does a lot, giving back to kids and whatnot that I'm at least aware of. So he's overall well-rounded guy, takes on a challenge head on, it's just.
You go ahead. Sorry. I was going to just say, I look for him to do big things now that his team has partnered with Emmitt Smith. For those of you who don't know, Dallas Cowboy legend, Hall of Famer. I think he still has the most rushing yards of all time, and is the second best running back to Barry Sanders.
Really?
Detroit Lions. Wait,
you
what?
and your
Did I
little
just say
fun
that?
facts today.
We got to talk a little football smack. If they can't handle it, what are you going to do? All right, so we're going to go from a person who manages a vehicle power measured by the number of horses that would generate that power to people who are riding vehicles generated by one person power. Let's roll that video.
I've been a cyclist for a long time. Had never heard the story about the Iron Riders. And then about maybe 10 years ago, I stumbled on an article that showed some black soldiers on bicycles, members of the 25th, and I knew the 25th Regiment was also part of the 4 regiments that made up the Buffalo Soldiers. And I go, what's this about Buffalo Soldiers on bicycles? I never heard this story before.
I've been gone so long. I've been gone so long.
On a whim, when I was 66, I rode my bicycle from Chicago back to Los Angeles along Route 66 for my 66th birthday, which is very similar to the ride that the 25th Infantry did back in 1897 when they rode similar bicycles from Fort Missoula, Montana to St. Louis, Missouri to see if there was a place for what was then this new contraption known as bicycles, if there was a place where it could supplement the horse, not replace the horse, but supplement the horse. And they did a 1,900-mile ride. I was kind of moved to, well, wait a minute, I ride a bicycle, they rode bicycles. You know, I could tell their story because I thought it was a very interesting story. And then I started looking for the gear and put this all together, and here we are today, representing the Iron Riders.
Well, we formed as a group because we were part of the 9th and 10th Horse Cavalry Association, and one of the troopers here invited us to ride in the Rose Parade. So back in 2007, we got together and rode in the Rose Parade. Of the bicycles, we had the roll, the bank roll, the tent. I kind of put my knapsack over the front of it, but in the knapsack you had your clothes and stuff to that effect. Your toothbrush and some other things were in that little patch right on the frame, underneath the frame of the bicycle.
Lieutenant Moss had commissioned Spalding Bicycle Company to create a bicycle that was rugged enough to handle this 1,900-mile trip from Fort Missoula back to St. Louis. Now remember, there were no bicycle roads around at that time, so they were either going through rush terrain, old wagon roads, or they were making their own way to get across country. The wheels at that time were made out of wood, and the rims, I should say, were wooden rims. And Moss knew that he needed something that was going to be able to handle the rigors of a 1,900-mile bike ride. So he commissioned Spalding. He came out with a steel frame bicycle with metal rims and pneumatic tires, which was the other thing that was new at that time because they were using just hard rubber tires. And the bikes themselves, I think when they were fully equipped, weighed around 55 to 60 pounds. Not a very easy thing to ride on or maneuver, but these men, they went through tremendous training, a couple of years worth, as a matter of fact, before they actually did the ride to St. Louis. And the bikes held up.
Of the 23 riders that went, 20 of them were men, one officer, one surgeon or doctor, and one gentleman was a youngster at the University of Montana in Missoula that was he wound up being the scribe. He got a job with the newspaper, and he covered it. So he wrote stories every day. It's just our history, and there's so much of it that hasn't been told. And when you do things like this, you get a chance to engage and tell people about history they didn't know about. And they can get engaged too.
They went further, faster, much more quieter, and less expensive than it would cost for the same amount of men on horseback to make that same trip. But the bicycle experiment that was performed at that time, it was considered the greatest cycling experiment ever undertaken by men in the military. And of course, that experiment was performed by the Buffalo Soldiers.
Well, that was awesome. And you know what I loved? The thing that I loved is this whole California kind of representation. I saw Bobby McDonald of Post 291 in Newport Harbor. I don't know him personally. I just wrote his name down, but I'm going to try to meet him. And then there's Ron Jones of Post 46 in Culver City. I have enjoyed myself at Post 46 in Culver City, so hopefully I will see him there as well. Hopefully you saw some things other than me bragging about my own state. Did you,
Oh, what's new?
Ashley?
What's new? You have a lot of pride. It is what it is.
So what did you catch on this?
So when I first saw this in our show notes, I was really interested because I had never heard of the Iron Riders before. And I had no idea that, this group of African-American Buffalo soldiers from the 25th Infantry Division of the U.S. Cavalry had even that this was a thing. And I was just like, I've heard of 6-AAA we've talked about. And I'm just like, what? It just honestly, it blew my mind because these were individuals that were freed slaves that, their Civil War era, especially from the South, and then mostly, they just saw the Army as a way to earn a living and serve their nation. And it just blew my mind that this was something that they did.
Right.
It's impressive. It's incredibly impressive that they were able to just be just rocking and rolling just on two wheels.
Well, it's interesting because, like you said, we know. I don't know if everybody knows the 6-AAA. We know it because the Legion kind of amplifies it, and we've talked about it here.
Right.
We know who the Buffalo Soldiers are, but this particular specific thing, and they rode to find a place, right? So they trained. They said for. I think he said 2 years, and you would need to train. Think of these bikes. Like, bikes weren't all modern and whatever like they are today. They had originally been made where the rims were wood. These were the first people that innovated and made rims out of metal. This is the first time they used air. They called it pneumatic. For the rest of the Marines out there, that's just air. It was the first pneumatic tires that were being used because they needed to be able to go off terrain and all this. 1,900 miles.
That's
on
intense.
A bike
I mean,
that
that's
weighs
like 50 plus miles a day.
55 to 60 pounds of bike they're pedaling. Not with multiple horsepower, with one person power. That's impressive and incredible. I don't even want to go to the grocery store on a bike. I want to drive.
So as a cyclist, I do really enjoy biking. And the fact of the matter is, I've done a 50-mile, straight through where I've done a brief stop just to, top off my water, whatever the case may be. But think about carrying that kind of weight and then having to often dismount and then walk. And then if you experience bad weather, you've got rough roads, you've got insects, you've got heat. Where's your next hydration, station going to be, right? There's no water buffalo, for lack of turn of phrase, but there's no water buffalo at a checkpoint where you're going to be able to go, fill up fill up on supplies. I mean, outside of course, whatever their trek was, and they knew where they needed to be. But I mean, imagine you hit a big body of water, you got to carry that bicycle on your shoulders. And then, by the time you reach the Continental Divide, that's snow, that's freezing temperatures. Nonetheless, that's small. You got small rural towns where people are curious, and maybe they've never, seen an African-American soldier before. And they are, you know what I mean? Think about the time frame of all of this going on. And it is just absolutely impressive that they were able to do all this stuff.
Super producer Ali mentioned the Rocky Mountains in a little chat thing. They crossed the Rocky Mountains on these bicycles, and you bring up a very valid point. There were probably places they went that they went through that they probably not very welcome, yet they still had pride in this country, and the contribution. It's a good example of the contributions of African Americans in every war, including the Revolutionary War. So every conflict that we've ever had, even when they were considered not a whole human, a fraction of a human being. So the history there is amazing. I think this is another one. I've said it. I say this every once in a while with these stories. I would watch this movie of this 1900-mile journey on a 55 to 60-pound bike with all new innovations that had problems. And they had struggles along the way, mechanical, personality-wise, with other human beings, because human beings are the worst obstacle that you can sometimes overcome.
Jeff, you want to go cycling with me?
Yeah, in Washington D.C. in the monument. We couldn't go 1900 miles. We might be able to go 19 if depending on my mood.
Wow.
Yeah,
I'll take that challenge.
19 miles. So I'm super impressed with what they're doing, and I'm super impressed with these individuals, which is why I want to meet them, because they're doing this reenactment of something that people don't know a lot about. So while they're reenacting it, they must be getting a million questions, like, why you have those old looking bikes with, and what is the uniform you're wearing? They have to be getting a ton of questions. Wouldn't you ask them a question or two? Like,
yeah, I wonder if they've got like, the bicycle like cards that you would put in the spokes, and maybe they've got like factoids. Hey, for your marketing folks out there, if you're doing this, that's a really great idea. Partner with bicycle.
Because unfortunately,
yeah, that'd be great. I'd have questions.
And you'd give them some water. Unfortunately, the aesthetics would be ruined with a QR code. But if they're riding by, I'd love to go just like and get a QR code to get more information. But I think that would ruin the aesthetic.
That's modern day educating. You gotta get creative.
You have to get creative. All right. So that was our new kind of segment, using multimedia to introduce things for you, so that you don't just have to hear Ashley and I talk. Although you love it. You love it. You can tell us that at Tango Alpha Lima at legion.org. So after the break, we're going to come back. It's going to be all us all the time with rapid fire.
So you were discharged with a 20% disability rating, but now you can't hear so well and need help. Contact an American Legion service officer. Service officers are free of charge, and they help all veterans. Find one near you with our online tool at legion.org/service officers.
All right, and we are back with rapid fire. Boom, 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 boom. This is all I got with my arm being whatever. So
that's okay.
I'm gonna let you fire away there, Jeff Daly.
All right, I'm gonna go empty clip on this because we have a Black History Month rapid fire coming up right now. The first thing right now we're gonna do is we're gonna talk about a bill. It's a new bill. This comes from CNN Politics. It's a newly introduced bill would provide GI Bill benefits to descendants of Black World War II vets. I'm not going to read all of what I wrote here, but I will say the GI Bill Restoration Act was introduced in the House by Majority Whip Jim Clyburn of South Carolina and Democratic Representative Seth Moultron of Massachusetts. Democratic Senator Raphael Warnock of Georgia is set to introduce the legislation into the Senate, according to a news release on Clyburn's website. While the original GI Bill ushered in decades of prosperity for post-war America, access to this prosperity was limited for Black World War II veterans who were denied full access to these benefits by mostly white state and local veterans administrations. So this, to me, this opens up a debate that has been going on in this country, because while things are better, not perfect now, there's things called generational wealth, and this generational wealth for because the GI Bill was considered, was it the largest, is one of the largest pieces of legislation ever at the time, and it did benefit those who were able to take advantage of it. So those who were able to take advantage of it could buy homes, real estate, dirt. They're not making any more of that, as my mom always says. So that really contributes to generational wealth, so that you have something to pass on to your children, so that they start with a foundation and build, and they start and they build, and populations were left out of that. And I'm glad to see that there's an effort to recognize that though the person who would benefit today didn't serve in World War II, the person who's benefiting today also didn't get to benefit from generations of foundation building. So it's I think it's important for that reason. Yeah,
this is definitely it's not not a great, mile marker for us in general. Just completely, just it's America. Anyway, so America. I think it's important that, the legislation will establish a blue ribbon panel, and it's going to study the inequities of the distribution of the benefit and, look at the assistance that can be, administered to both female and minority members of the armed forces, as well as provide the recommendations on the additional assistance to repair those inequities. I think it's incredibly important that we find a way to make sure that the folks that are eligible and entitled to this, it finds their way to them, and ensuring that it's done in the most logical and physically responsible way possible, of course. So those are just my overall takeaways from this, is that, yeah, it's just kind of this it's not a great mile marker that we've just.
And I think you're right, is that we have to find a way to make sure that this gets to the people, but the eligible people, but the first step is we have to define, because it hasn't been done before, what is eligible.
Yeah, it's a great point.
We've never done this for descendants. It'll be interesting.
Folks are going to ask about well, how do you know you were denied, right?
Or what do you do about
proof of denial? Or
what do I do if, say, my grandfather served in World War II, but I'm also a vet, so I'm already getting some of this GI Bill. Do I get a whole new fresh one so I can go get my PhD or something? Or it'll be interesting to see how this gets sussed out, because when we talk about things like equity, that can mean a lot of different things. It's not just equity for the subgroup of the population, it's equity within that subgroup too. So I don't know how it's going to turn out. I'm just happy, quite frankly, I'm just happy that the conversation is happening where we do recognize the value of generational wealth. And some people don't get super wealthy on it, but you know what? Some things are passed on. It was never a thing in my mind that I would not go to college because my parents went to college. My mother's master's degrees and all of that. It wasn't a conversation, it was expected. We were expected to go to college, and you just thought that that's what you do because that was the example that was set. And so in terms of education, in terms of property ownership, good, all that kind of stuff, I'm glad that this is happening.
Yeah,
so,
I think a lot of people misuse equality and equity. So equality is everyone is the playing field is even, but equity meets people where they are in order to get them all to a state of equality. And I don't know if I'm explaining that correctly, but it would be interesting to see.
There's a meme talking about what you're talking about. So if you have because some people are here and some people are here. So to get them both way up there, they can't have the same treatment because some people are starting even further behind is what I think that you're trying to say.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to describe. And I know exactly what you're talking about. I think it's like a meme where everyone's trying to peer over the fence. Yes. Everyone has a different level of a box.
Yes.
And that is, in relation to the equality versus equity difference. It would be interesting to see if the Health Equity Office and the VA will pick this up in some sort of research capacity as well, if it proceeds to, because I think that would be the appropriate office to.
Well, it's got to pass first.
It's got to pass, but
so it's
forward thinking.
But at least, like I said, at least the conversation is happening now. That's some encouraging ish news. And we have some kind of we have a little sadness. This year we lost a great leader of any shade, in Colin Powell. And I'm just gonna read a little bit from this article. It's called "Colin Powell Remembered as a Model for Future Generations." This is from Stars and Stripes. Colin L. Powell, the the trailblazing soldier diplomat who rose from humble beginnings to become the first Black Secretary of State, was remembered by family and friends as a principled man of humility and grace, whose decorated record of leadership can serve as a model for generations to come. The example of Colin Powell does not call on us to emulate his resume, which is too formidable for mere mortals, his son Michael said in a touching tribute at his father's funeral service at Washington National Cathedral. It is to emulate his character and his example as a human being. We can strive to do that. Now, I think it's also important to note, and it's noted in this article about the funeral, it states that it's a sunny and chilly day, and it drew dignitaries and friends from across the political military spectrum. That included President Joe Biden, former Presidents George W. Bush, Barack Obama, former Secretaries of State James Baker, Condoleezza Rice, and Hillary Clinton, former Defense Secretary Robert Gates, and the current chairman of the Joint Chiefs, Army General Mark Milley. So I think that's important.
He was held in such high esteem. He was just such an incredible human being.
Just across the board.
Yeah, I remember reading a story that he, obviously just being in the District of Maryland, Virginia area, somebody had a flat tire, and I'll never forget this. And it went viral because one, it's Colin Powell, and then on top of it, he just stopped to like help this person with their tire. It was just the most wildest, humbling, random thing that he could have done, but he just did it. And for anyone who's been on like 295 and all the craziness that is around here in traffic, and this is like pre-COVID.
And he's a man with stars on his shoulder.
Lead by example. Like, he was next level.
That's that character thing his son was talking about that we can all kind of strive for. So October 18th is a day of a huge loss, and I hope that people, especially people in the military who all know who he was, will kind of strive to do those things, because it seems like today in this world we really focus too much on accomplishments and medals and all of that sort of thing.
Attributes of things that are material. And I think
they're material, or they're my measure of a human being is not how much salad they have on their chest. It's not how much money they have in the bank. It's not how many things are on their wall. It's really who they are. And if the story you told is just important to me about him as whatever he did to earn some of those medals. Now, they're just, I'm not saying either is unimportant. What I'm saying is a complete whole person. You need to be a complete whole person, and you need to have some character to go along with your accomplishments, or what are you doing it for?
Yeah.
So I do.
Character, it's important.
This guy is a legend. I'm just kind of upset that I never met him.
Same.
I mean, he was so good. He could have been a Marine. That's all I'm saying. All right. So do you have a shout out for this one?
Shout out. Gosh, I'm so terrible at shout outs. Why am I so bad at this? Here, I'm just like, this is where I'm at.
If there's anybody right now you'd want to sign your cast first, who would it be?
Oh gosh. I actually have a few people in line. I have some folks who have already submitted drawing requests to sign my cast. It'll be super exciting. So we'll see how surgery goes. I'll be one more closer step to being Bionic Woman. But with that being said,
I think
if you can send us, if you want to send us a love note and you want to send me some cool stickers, I'll put stickers on my cast from fans all over the country. I will do that for you all.
On behalf of you, I'm gonna do a
Yeah.
shout out to your surgeon so that they so they feel good when you're there and they can
Dr.
handle
G.
it. So all right, I have a shout out. It's unfortunately it's still in the theme of loss of African American Black leaders. These are California. In California, we recently lost 2 great leaders. Our immediate past department commander, Ed Grimsley, and area department vice commander, Harry Woods. We lost them on the same day, which was a huge blow to the state. Thankfully, we have the leadership of current department commander, Autry James. I was fortunate enough to have all 3 men as role models. I'm friends with Commander James, and I was friends with Commander Grimsley. Unfortunately, I was just getting to know Vice Commander Woods before his passing. So I wanted to shout out to those who had gone on to post everlasting, to other duties in service, I'm sure, and to Commander Autry James, who is taking the torch and leading us with a lot of the same characteristics we talked about with General Powell in terms of character and all that sort of thing. So that's my shout out to them. So that was our Black History episode. I hope you enjoyed the multimedia aspect. I hope you enjoyed our the selection of stories and our take on them. Please let us know what you think could be improved or what you absolutely loved. I prefer the latter, but I am glad to hear the former. Don't forget to subscribe to the Tango Alpha Lima podcast on YouTube, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you consume podcasts.
And you know what we would love this February and with Valentine's Day coming up? Big old 5 stars. So please leave us a review and those 5 stars rating and let us know how much you adore us this February and so on. With that being said, if you do have a guest recommendation for us and you want to see someone in your community on the podcast, hit us up. So go to legion.org/Tango Alpha Lima and click on the suggest a guest link.
Right.
Sounds like a cool rhyme I should do. I'm probably not do.
And I want everybody to know, stop nominating me. I'm already here. Nominate other people, please. With that, I declare this 2022, or as I call it, 2020 also, Black History Month episode of Tango Alpha Lima mission complete.